Shabbat Shalom, which is peace on Yahweh's Holy Sabbath Day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. We are going to go over some things here as we get closer and closer to the redemption of the children of Israel. We see more and more of our people coming out of gross darkness, and they're finding out more about who they are, but we're still allowing the very people who have usurped us, that have gained control of their land, we're still allowing those people to dictate what it is we will and will not deal with. What we have, the big mistake that we constantly make is allowing whoever the nations set up as some sort of representative of the thing to look at. We then allow those people to dictate the things that we will deal with, as far as even when we deal with how we are addressed and what we call ourselves, whether it's African Americans, Hebrew Israelites, all of these things. We were Negro, colored, blacks. We keep allowing other people to define who we are. And when you look and really get down to it, you're going to find those same people within the base of doing all of those things, knowing that it's going to give them, more ability to steal the ultimate blessing that has been given to Israel. And then us not really dealing with that, then we attempt to even go and steal what already belongs to us from one another, instead of doing the things rightfully so and what Yahweh has given us. But brother, would you read the oracles and entreat the angel that stands at the door to come in and sup with us and us with him, that we might make this a holy convocation by the angel's presence.
1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another. Forever and ever. Amen. That it may minister grace unto the hearers, and grieve not the Holy Spirit of elevation. That all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as dear children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becomes saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather given of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you upon earth. Therefore let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you, to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come in to him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
All right, we're going to begin today's sermon in Genesis chapter 22. Genesis chapter 22, and we're going to read verses 1 through 18. Genesis chapter 22 and verses 1 through 18. And today's sermon is entitled, The Stolen Blessing.
And it came to pass, Abraham, and he said, Behold, here I am. And he said, Take now your son, your only son Esau, whom you love, and get you into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell you of. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and saddled his ass, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Esau his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up, and went on to the place of which Elohim had told him. Then on the 3rd day Abraham lifted up his eyes, and saw the place afar off. And Abraham said unto his young men, Abide you here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship, and come again to you. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering, and laid it upon Esau his son. And he took the fire in his hand, and a knife, and they went both of them together.
Right, now when people look at this, some people look and say, man, this is pretty harsh of Yahweh to ask, but Yahweh wasn't asking, he wasn't going to do himself. He knew he was going to give up his son, and he also knew that he was going to get his son back. So he just basically took him down to the wire, knowing that he was still going to give him his son back. But you can't stand in the stead of Elohim and not truly understand his struggle. And that's the thing that everybody wants to do. You have people that are ready to teach, but they don't really understand Yahweh's position. And there's a certain amount of pain and hardship that comes with understanding Yahweh's position. But people are ready to take that step, but they're not ready to deal with the things that it takes to really understand his position. See, being in this situation, now Abraham can understand his position, even though he hasn't fully told him exactly what he expects of him. You have to first be able to understand Yahweh's position. See what it feels like that I have to give up my son to reconcile a situation that has absolutely nothing to do with something that we have done. It has something to do with something you have done, but I have to give up my son to reconcile that. So I need to make sure you understand what that feels like before you can be my servant. Go ahead.
Genesis chapter 22 and verse 7. Abraham his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here am I, my son. And he said, Behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? And Abraham said, My son, Elohim will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. Mm-hmm. So they went both of them together. And they came to the place which Elohim had told him of. And Abraham built an altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Esau his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. And the angel of Yahweh called unto him out of heaven, and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Lay not your hand upon the lad, neither do you anything unto him, for now I know that you feareth Elohim, seeing you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me.
When you fear Elohim, there's certain things that you're going to do. That fear translates to respect. And he respected the power of Elohim, and he respected the fact that he truly believed that you've made promises to me concerning, this child. So even if I offer this child up, you're going to give me this child back. So he had to have faith before the thing is done. A lot of times people talk to you about faith and act like, you know, faith showed up in the New Testament. You have any idea how much faith you got to have to lay your own son and tie him down and get ready to open him up? And people think that this is some strange concept. When you get to the end of the book, it starts telling you that it wasn't possible for goats and sheep to take away the sins of man. From the beginning, it always had to be a man. That's why they were sacrificing people all throughout time. You read throughout all of these other kingdoms, you'll find that all of these people were sacrificing people. The Mayans, all of these strange and these big kingdoms. You find if you read some of the things about the pharaohs, they were buried with live slaves, believing that when they woke up, they would have those same servants for them in their next life. So there was always this thing of sacrificing men. But Yahweh, in all of his abundant grace that we don't even think was available in Genesis, his abundant grace was already set that I'm going to give you an animal to substitute for a man until I find a man worthy of offering up his blood. Because even though all of these other kingdoms had live sacrifices, none of the sacrifices were good because they were all sinful men. Even when they got to the point where they were sacrificing virgins, still a virgin made of a regular act between a man and a woman. The only one that was able to take this was Yahshua. So Yahweh had already given us a grace period before people even thought grace had entered the picture. Then when he ended that part of the grace, it still wasn't something that we had to die for, because we wouldn't have been clean enough to do it anyway. Go ahead.
Verse 13. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son.
In the stead of his son. Now, if you were waiting for this, to see this beforehand, you would have already failed Yahweh. You have already failed yourself, because you're waiting to already see the replacement before you even make a move forward. There's only so much Yahweh can do with that. What kind of servant is that? I can't make a step until I already know exactly where I'm going, Yahweh. Well, it ain't so much service you're going to do for Yahweh. I can tell you that right now. Go ahead.
And Abraham called the name of that place Yahweh Yireh, as it is said to this day, in the mount of Yahweh it shall be seen. And the angel of Yahweh called unto Abraham out of heaven the second time. And he said, By myself have I sworn, says Yahweh, for because you have done this thing, and have not withheld your son, your only son, that in blessing I will bless you, and in multiplying I will multiply your seed as the stars of the heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore. And your seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. And in your seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice.
And this is what the nations want to possess. In your seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice. So even when we are captive in other lands, there are blessings that come to those people just by having us in captivity. And we ourselves don't even understand that. That people are being blessed by our presence. This is why when you get in the word and you start understanding the word, it's certain places that you will not go. There's certain things that you will not be a part of, because you have to understand that you're placing the blessing of Yahweh that Yahweh has placed upon you. You're placing that in areas that Yahweh may not want to bless. But see, it takes us to deal with something outside of ourselves to go there. Let's go to Genesis chapter 25. See, it is written, he said, you have made me to serve you in your sins. See, we don't understand the great power that Israel has with Yahweh, because we have allowed people to make money synonymous with blessing. And anytime we talk about blessing, we automatically, everybody's thinking about money. Genesis chapter 25, and we're going to read verses 20 through 26.
And Esau was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel the Syrian of Padam-aram, the sister to Laban the Syrian. And Esau entreated Yahweh for his wife, because she was barren. And Yahweh was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived.
Now, verse 20 says Esau was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife. Verse 21 says, and Esau entreated Yahweh for his wife because she was barren, and Yahweh was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. Sound like a real nice, he said something, and then next Wednesday she had some children. Keep reading.
And the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus?
Mm-hmm.
And she went to inquire of Yahweh.
Right. See, so if this is a blessing, why am I going through these things? If you telling me I'm going to have these kids, you're going to give me this blessing, so why am I going through this? Correct?
And Yahweh said unto her, 2 nations are in your womb,
mm-hmm.
and 2 manner of people shall be separated from your bowels.
Mm-hmm.
And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger.
The elder shall serve the younger. That is completely different from all the other things that goes according to how things normally go. See, according to the setup, normally the oldest is the one who gets the double blessing. The oldest is the one who gets all of these things, the one who's going to be left in charge. Yahweh is saying automatically, this is going to be different, and he's telling this woman, this is why you have this struggle in your womb. Go ahead.
Verse 24, Genesis chapter 25 and verse 24. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over, like an hairy garment. And they called his name Esau.
Mm-hmm.
And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel. And his name was called Jacob. And Esau was 80 years old when he bare them.
When she bare them, 80 years old. 80 how old?
60.
Okay, 60 years old. He was 40 years old when they got married. He prayed, verse 20, Esau was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife. Verse 21, Esau entreated Yahweh for his wife because she was barren, and Yahweh was entreated. Sound like she had them babies right away. 20 years later, here come the twins. See, now how many of us gonna sit there long enough? See, and if you already start glorying and shouting between 20 and 21, you ain't realized by verse 26 that was 20 years later. 20 years later, we forget what we prayed for. 20 years later, the kids show up, we be like, hold on, what are you cheering here? Wait a minute. No, I was comfortable with my life. No, I don't want no kids no more. I'm sorry, I prayed. No, but you prayed for this. That was 20 years ago. And didn't you ask for it? Well, yeah, but not now. No. See, that's that thing. Time don't mean nothing to Yahweh. Time means something to us. We the ones gonna run out of time. He ain't gonna run out of time. So that's something very important that we have to understand. Some of the things that we go through right now is some things that we asked for, that we have forgotten, that we asked for. Let's go to chapter 27, and we're going to read verses 15 through 33.
Genesis chapter 27 and verse 15. And Rebekah took goodly raiment of her eldest son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them upon Jacob, her younger son.
So remember, it was told to her that the younger, the elder shall serve the younger. So this is not like tradition. And you have to wonder if Esau was a man that was steeped in tradition, because with that tradition, he was going to automatically bless the older kid. So you have to ask yourself, why did Yahweh not reveal that and deal with him with that? He dealt with the woman with that. Go ahead.
And she put the skins of the kids of the goats upon his hands and upon the smooth of his neck. And she gave the savory meat and the bread, which she had prepared, into the hand of her son Jacob. And he came unto his father and said, My father. And he said, Here am I. Who are you, my son? Jacob said unto his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done according as you badeth me. Arise, I pray you, sit and eat of my venison, that your soul may bless me.
Now understand, Esau's eyes were dim at this point, so he could not see the kids like that. So he's listening to them and feeling to see if this is the right child. Go ahead.
And Esau said unto his son, How is it that you have found it so quickly, my son? And he said, Because Yahweh your Elohim brought it to me.
Right. He told him to go out in the field, go hunt, go bring some of this meat back. The mother heard it. Rebekah heard when he said it. She went up, go ahead and setting up this thing so that Jacob will be able to go in before Esau. Go ahead.
And Esau said unto Jacob, Come near, I pray you, that I might feel you, my son, whether you be my very son Esau or not.
Mm-hmm.
And Jacob went near unto Esau his father, and he felt him, and said, The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he discerned him not, because his hands were hairy, as his brother Esau's hands, so he blessed him. And he said, Are you my very son Esau? And he said, I am.
Now, the interesting thing you have to pay attention to is all of these things he's asking, he is answering, Jacob is answering, but everything that Jacob is saying, of course, is a lie. He's saying, are you my son Esau? Yes, I am. He's putting on, he was giving his brother's clothes so that he would smell like his brother. So all of that is being done, but do understand, it was already given from the beginning of how this was supposed to go. Go ahead.
And he said, Bring it near to me, and I'll eat of my son's venison, that my soul may bless you. And he brought it near to him, and he did eat, and he brought him wine, and he drank. And his father Esau said unto him, Come near now, and kiss me, my son. And he came near, and kissed him. And he smelt the smell of his raiment, and blessed him, and said, See, the smell of my son is the smell of a field which Yahweh has blessed. Therefore Elohim give you of the dew of heaven, and the fatness of the earth, and plenty of corn and wine. Let people serve you, and nations bow down to you. Be master over your brethren, and let your mother's son bow down to you. Cursed be everyone that curses you, and blessed be he that blesses you.
Right. And this, to this day, this is what's going to cause the nations some serious problems, especially since they don't understand and who it is they're really dealing with. So people are gathering up money to send to the occupiers of the land, believing that those are the true Jews. Meanwhile, doing all of hellacious acts to the real children of Israel. So they're going to receive this punishment and not even understand that they're bringing this on themselves. But see, this is what happens when you have the right motives or the right deed with the wrong intentions behind it. Because if we're going to be fair and just to everybody, then it shouldn't matter who those people really are. But when you try to be slick with Yahweh, he's always slicker. So what they're trying to treat these occupiers of the land, I mean, they're getting money from all over the world. When people realize that those are not the true descendants of Yaakov, they're going to have some serious problems because they've wasted all their substance because they were given it hoping to already have it multiplied to them in return. Go ahead.
Verse 30. And it came to pass, as soon as Esau had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone out from the presence of Esau his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. And he also had made savory meat, and brought it unto his father, and said unto his father, Let my father arise, and eat of his son's venison, that your soul may bless me. And Esau his father said unto him, Who are you? And he said, I am your son, your firstborn Esau. And Esau trembled very exceedingly, and said, Who? Where is he that has taken venison and brought it me? And I have eaten of all before you cameth, and have blessed him. Yes, and he shall be blessed.
Yes, and he shall be blessed. Doesn't matter how the rest of those things came about. So this is also given the adversaries of Israel great opportunity to believe that they can steal the blessing as well, because they look at these things and they say, man, this blessing was taken, well, not understanding that it was already given which one of them was supposed to receive this blessing, and it would be the younger one, not the older one. All of these things had to go down because the father probably wouldn't have done that according to tradition. So this thing has caused some serious problems in Israel with us not truly accepting this for what it is. And this blessing, as it says, and you have blessed him, yea, and he shall be blessed. And we have to consider when Jacob ended up having to deal with Laban, you find that he was supposed to serve 7 years for one of his daughters and ended up being tricked into another 7 years and then some more years after that. So it went from 7 years to serving this man 20 years. But you have to ask, why did he not want to let him go? Because even having him in captivity, he was being blessed. Now you have to consider, although all of the things that happen to us in the various countries and the various places where we have been, they still don't want to let go their blessing. They understand that they're getting some kind of blessing, even holding you in captivity. Jacob wasn't free. He wasn't free. He's serving this man. Every time the man, he gets near his time to go, the man make up something else. Well, no, now you got to marry the other daughter. See? So now you can't marry this one without, you see, the oldest and then the young, and see, that's why, because. So now you got to marry this other one. Wait a minute. Well, where you get that from? He got to do anything he can to keep this man there. And then he admits it at the end. Man, I ain't want to let you go. I see that I've been blessed because you being my servant. But you, even being a servant, do you have enough self-esteem in yourself to understand that other people are being blessed because you there? Or you let them give you low self-esteem because they pulled up in a better car than you? Right. Let's go to Genesis chapter 28. See, Laban had all the money. See? So you have to look at what I need you for. Go ahead.
We were talking about that in Bible study, where Laban already knew the history of this family, because Abraham sent his servant to Laban's family for a wife for Esau. And Laban didn't want that servant to leave, because he said, man, I can see that Yahweh's with you, tarry a while. So he's already known what's coming out of that family.
That was the whole reason he was sent over there. Said, you know what? I know they know how to raise women over there. See? So go get my son a wife from one of those women. So don't let my son marry now one of these women over here. See, and don't take my son back. Don't take him at all. Go get the woman. If the woman won't come back, then you free from this oath. But don't take my son back, and do not let my son marry one of these women over here. Go ahead.
Genesis chapter 28 and verse 10. And Yaakov went out from Beersheba and went toward Haran. And he lighted upon a certain place and tarried there all night, because the sun was set. And he took off the stones of that place and put them for his pillows and laid down in that place to sleep. And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of Elohim ascending and descending on it. And behold, Yahweh stood above it, and said, I am Yahweh, Elohim of Abraham your father, and the El of Esau. The land whereon you lieth, to you will I give it, and to your seed. And your seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and you shall spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in you and in your seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed.
In you and in your seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. When you look at some of the things that have taken place, you're talking about the nations being blessed because of the presence of Israel. When you look at the imposters, they're taking the natural resources, the money from other lands. The other lands are not receiving. A lot of times people talk to you about the Holocaust and how many people died. What they fail to tell you is what Hitler believed they were doing to their economy. That's the part that nobody wants to talk about. Even when you deal with what happens in this economy. When they had the financial crisis, Bush said, we can't start our economic stimulus plan yet because it's a Jewish holiday and all of our money people are not available. And then he laughed right on TV and nobody caught it. You mean to tell me y'all got all this power, but the Jewish folks on holiday, so y'all ain't got none of your money? If you control the money, you control everything. Who was that, Rockefeller, that said, if you let me control the money, I care not who makes the laws? You make whatever law you want to. If I got all your money, your laws don't mean diddly squat. See? So we have to consider some things here. So people have then taken the blessing of Israel and used it to bring forth more covetousness. And I think we have that documentary that I talked to y'all about where it showed where Israel and United States had gotten together to do some evil, and then Israel decided that they were going to even trick America, even though they're working with America. They decided they're going to trick them and make their little evil deed, they're going to amp it up some, and ended up getting everybody caught. The end result of that, we ended up watching on television where Netanyahu comes to speak before Congress unannounced, walked up in the Senate floor. Every time he's talking, they clapping every 10, 15 words. And then him and Obama had issues. Well, until you see this documentary, you don't understand why him and Obama had issues toward the end. That little trick that they pulled almost started a war. So he's coming over here that just let you know how bold the ish have gotten. After you almost start a war, then you come unannounced and speak to the American lawmakers. Now here it is, the people, Obama's got to sit there with a straight face while all these people standing up clapping for this man. But they don't know what the man just did. They don't have enough clearance to know what he just did. So they sit there clapping. And Obama and the vice president and a few other people sitting there looking and can't say a thing. So we have to understand that even when we see things on television, you have to consider What angle are you seeing that? How much of that information are you really getting? And being that the media is also mostly Jewish control, the things that do not make certain people look well in a certain light, those things will never make it to the television anyway. When they start talking about the church shootings that and all of the things that our people were going through, all of a sudden something came out that people were making threats against Jewish synagogues. They found out that the guy who did it was Jewish, and you never heard it again on television. It completely disappeared. But why was there somebody Jewish that came out to attack a Jewish or Jewish synagogues? Why? Because they have to get all the sympathy to continue to get the money, pump, and circumstance. America or no other place can feel sorry for anybody else other than them. So whenever it looked like we were suffering, they have to, all right, let's talk about the Holocaust again. Let's talk about, hey, we suffer more than y'all. All right, now remember, that make sure you write that check out. So you have to ask yourself, why did it pop up then? If somebody was going to do something to a synagogue, why did they just happen to do it right as there were several major events that happened to our people? Whenever the civil rights movement kick off, go back and watch those pictures and watch all the Jewish men who were financing everything. See, it's much easier to control something when you're the one printing up all the t-shirts. When you're the ones doing all of those things, see, it's easy to go ahead and control that. So they saying, yeah, man, y'all desegregate. Move out of here. Meanwhile, they bought all the houses in their neighborhood. They didn't move nowhere. They own whole blocks. I've gone down the street and watched kids walking down the street, and it's like 25 kids at one time. And they all dressed the same. They own the school. They own the shops. They own all the houses in the block. But they told you to move out your neighborhood. Right. Telling you to do something that they was never going to do. Yahweh don't operate like that. He turned around. He told the man, offer up your son. Because he already know. Toward the end of this book, I'm going to do the same thing that I asked you to do. I'm not going to do something that asks you to do something that I'm not going to do. So, but we see everybody don't operate like that. Go ahead, brother.
Genesis chapter 28 and verse 15. And behold, I am with you and will keep you in all places whither you go, and will bring you again into this land. For I will not leave you until I have done that which I have spoken to you of. And Jacob awaked out of his sleep, and he said, surely Yahweh is in this place, and I knew it not.
And I knew it not. Let's go to Numbers chapter 22. Numbers chapter 22, and we're going to read verses 1 through 12.
And the children of Israel set forward and pitched in the plains of Moab on this side Jordan by Jericho. And Balak the son of Zippor saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites. And Moab was sore afraid of the people because they were many. And Moab was distressed because of the children of Israel.
Right. And if you think that's something, wait, our people have not collectively moved together in thousands of years. So when you talk about Yahweh bringing the children of Israel together, it is going to frighten many nations. Understand, this is why they passed some of their little twisted laws. This is why they have that law, no loitering. What does loitering mean? That means black people gathering, see? Because congregating means the same thing as loitering, depending on how you look at it. You have the right to congregate, but you don't have the right to loiter. Now, wait a minute. What's the difference in them two? If I feel threatened, you loitering. If I don't feel threatened, you congregate. Now, what's threatening? dark skin. So the same thing that other people are allowed to do, it is then somehow illegal in our neighborhood. And think about when you see the police pull up. When you got 4 or 5 brothers standing there, you can go ahead and count on them lights. Automatically feel threatened. Automatically feel threatened. You talking about enormous amounts of our people moving together? Oh, it's definitely going to be frightening. Extremely frightening. Go ahead.
And Moab said unto the elders of Midian, Now shall this company look up all that are round about us, as the ox licketh up the grass of the field. And Balak the son of Zippor was king of the Moabites at that time. He sent messengers therefore unto Balaam the son of Beor to Pethor, which is by the river of the land of the children of his people, to call him, saying, Behold, there is a people come out from Egypt. Behold, they cover the face of the earth, and they abide over against me. Come now, therefore, I pray you, curse me this people, for they are too mighty for me. Peradventure I shall prevail, that we may smite them, and that I may drive them out of the land. For I know not that he whom you blessed is blessed, and he whom you curseth is cursed.
I know that whoever you bless is blessed, and who you curse is cursed, so I want you to curse this people for me. Because I'm afraid of this people. Now, they ain't did nothing to them. They just seem very frightening. Go ahead.
And the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian departed with the rewards of divination in their hand. And they came unto Balaam, and spake unto him the words of Balak. And he said unto them, Lodge here this night, and I'll bring you word again, as Yahweh shall speak unto me. And the princes of Moab abode with Balaam. And Elohim came unto Balaam, and said, What men are these with you? And Balaam said unto Elohim, Balak the son of Zippor, king of Moab, has sent unto me, saying, Behold, there is a people come out of Egypt, which covers the face of the earth. Come now, curse me them. Peradventure I shall be able to overcome them, and drive them out. And Elohim said unto Balaam, You shall not go with him. You shall not curse the people, for they are blessed.
You shall not curse the people, for they are blessed. We have to consider some things here. That Yahweh, first of all, did not give us a law until he was about to give us a land. So we understand when we put all those things together, why the nations want us to be a bunch of lawless people. Lawless people don't need a land. When you're a captive, you don't have to understand any law. When you're a captive, you don't have to have any government understanding. You don't have to have any of that. Your captors do all of that for you. So, being that your oppressor wants you to stay in captivity, tell you that that law is nailed to the cross. So you won't understand order. You can't have a kingdom and run a kingdom based on what everybody thinks and believes. There has to be some form of order in that. But then you see, with that blessing also comes haters and how people perceive that blessing and what they want to do with it. Let's go to Acts chapter 28.
Acts chapter 28 and verse 1. And when they were escaped, then they knew that the island was called Melita. And the barbarous people showed us no little kindness, for they kindled a fire, and received us every one because of the present rain, and because of the cold. And when Saul had gathered a bundle of sticks, and laid them on the fire, there came a viper out of the heat, and fastened on his hand. And when the barbarians saw the venomous beast hang on his hand, they said among themselves,
no doubt,
this man is a murderer. whom, though he has escaped the sea, yet vengeance suffers not to live.
Right. So he's survived this shipwreck. He survived all of the problems on the sea. But now that he get bit by this venomous snake, they automatically say he must be a devil, because this bad stuff right here done happened to him. Surely he finna die in a few minutes. Go ahead.
And he shook off the beast into the fire and felt no harm.
Right. Now their opinion of him is finna completely change. Go ahead.
Howbeit they looked when he should have swollen or fallen down dead suddenly, but after they had looked a great while and saw no harm come to him, they changed their minds and said that he was a god.
So he went from a devil to a god in no time flat. No time whatsoever. But see, the blessing of Yahweh is not always given in some kind of monetary form. Saul wasn't a rich man. He tell you, I work with my hands. He was a tent maker. He's still doing all of these things as he's going from place to place, teaching these churches. Yet people tell you, Christ was rich. He was a carpenter. He built subdivisions. I'm like, man, where you get that from? The man said, foxes. He said, I'm like the foxes have a place to lay their head, but I don't. And everybody believed that they would have followed the Mashiach. Everybody believed that they would have followed Christ. But you have to ask yourself, how many people would have followed a traveling preacher with no church and no place to stay? Right. Let's go to Matthew chapter 26. You know, the majority of people would have already had some problems that he didn't have any money. So wait a minute, man, if you that blessed, surely you got the best stagecoach or something. I mean, you ain't still riding that donkey. You know we would have had a problem. Y'all know us. We drive up in a parking lot. We want to see what kind of cars in it. Let me see. Oh, okay, yeah, there's some nice cars out there. This is why the book says, don't be envied. Don't envy the wicked. See, we envy the wicked. We see all the things that they are allowed to do, and we see all of the things that they're allowed to do without punishment, and then we become jealous. See? This is what makes normal law-abiding people think about, robbing a bank. When they know somebody who have done some dirt and they successful in the dirt, we start considering dirt. See? We be all right until we see somebody else. Man, look how much dirt they get. Boy, look at that car, man. Look at that knife. I think I'm going to buy me a shovel. For what? I think I'm going to start digging up some dirt myself. Ah, man. Why? Because you look at the other people successful in doing dirt, and you become envious at the wicked. And first time you do it, you get locked up. And you don't even see Yahweh's grace and mercy in that. Because see, them people they got a long line of sins they got to pay for. He slapped you as soon as you did it. You on the outside planning the robbery, and they just lock you up. Well, I was there. I didn't even do it. Y'all, I ain't even put the bullets in the gun yet. Right. We can get you for conspiracy. Conspiracy? Right. That's Yahweh. And we don't see that. We don't see the grace and mercy in that. See? I remember when it happened to me, I was mad. I wanted to know why I couldn't do evil like all my friends. I was upset, Jack. Everybody else did dirt. They quickly found out. Don't do no dirt with him, bro. Don't do everybody do dirt with him, go to jail. Don't do it. And of course, that look like a curse when you're in the street. When you start hanging around them people, you start to realize, you mean all of those was blessings? Right. All blessings don't look the way you think they look. Go ahead, bro.
Matthew chapter 26 and verse 20. Now when the evening was come, he sat down with the 12. And as they did eat, he said, Verily I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me. And they were exceeding sorrowful, and began every one of them to say unto him, Adonai, is it I?
Right. So now you have this quest, which, understand, the adversary of the devil wants to be just like the Most High. So then he has to find something that he can use inside the people to take that blessing away from Israel. This is what the whole thing was in the garden, to get man to sin, to take away Yahweh's favor from man, to get man to step out of this pleasant place with Yahweh. Because if you have a tree of knowledge in the garden, understand you also have a tree of life, which we have to get all the way to Revelation to find out that the people who are accepted would then be allowed to eat from that tree of life and live forever. That was already in the garden. But the adversary didn't taunt us with that one, did he? He could have told you to eat from that and you'd never die. He didn't tell you about that one. He said, no. Let's eat from the smart tree. Go ahead and pick some of that smart fruit. Because you know one thing, the smart fruit gonna make you as dumb as ever. And half the time, the people who have problems are the ones who constantly looking for something. They gotta find something new. And in their quest to be smart, they end up just as dumb as ever. Like, how you be that intelligent and be that dumb at the same time? But do you understand? We were destroyed by the tree of knowledge, not the tree of life. That's the one you ultimately trying to get to. That's the one we all trying to get to. But we were destroyed with knowledge. Solomon, it said, he was the wisest king ever lived. Look at what happened to him. Captain Smarty Pants. Smartest one around. But you know what happened when you start, when you're too smart? Start finding them loopholes. You know what the law says. Thou shalt not kill. But if I can choke him right and bring him to the brink of death. Yeah, right. See, that's what being smart do for you. That's what doing smart for you. Oh, Solomon did all kind of stuff. Right. And it wasn't that he didn't understand. He understood everything he was doing. But having so much wisdom, you start doing little pieces of things, and it's driving you further and further and further away from Yahweh, and you have no idea. When they sin, what did it automatically do? Cause separation between them and Yahweh. And man ran himself. Said, man, I was walking through the garden, and I was looking for you. Where you go? Man, I heard your voice, and I took off running because I was naked. Who told you you was naked? So you ran from me? Right. We ran from him. And some of us still running, and we don't know we're running. Go ahead, brother.
I was going to say, even right now, like you just mentioned, you'll see people week after week, and then they disappear. You won't see them for months, and they come back, oh, I was going through something. Exactly what you're saying. You're running away from Yahweh. You need to be here to get your spiritual food so you can get back on track.
No, I was with my friend, the murderer, and then we was fixing it together. Oh, so you got your life right with the murderer. All right. Good luck with that one. Go ahead, man.
Matthew chapter 26 and verse 23. And he answered and said, He that dips his hand with me in the dish, the same shall betray me. The Son of Man goes as it is written of him. But woe unto that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It had been good for that man if he had not been born.
Right. But the bottom line is somebody had to play this role. Somebody has to offer the Messiah up. See, this is that thing where they're good laborers and they're evil laborers. Somebody has to do, there's some evil that has to be done, and somebody is going to draw that straw. This is why you got to try and keep your heart right. At least you draw the evil straw. Go ahead.
Then Yehudas, which betrayed him, answered and said, Master, is it I? And he said unto him, You have said.
And see, this is how deep the deception goes. He don't even know it's him. Is it I? How you not know if you're doing evil or not? But see, when that demon take possession of your body, you do things and don't even understand why you do them. You say things and don't even understand why you said them. And the whole time, think that you are fulfilling the will of the Most High. That's what a deceptive demon do for you. Let's go to Luke chapter 22. See, we often say it here. I mean, if you ask Yahshua, is it I? And he said, you know, you have said. Man, that should have been enough to give brother a heart attack right now. What you mean I said? You didn't answer my question. Is it me? You have said. And some people don't know when to cry. That, my friend, was an official crying moment. Luke chapter 22, and let's read, start with verses 1 through 6.
Now the feast of unleavened bread drew near, which is called the Passover, and the chief priests and scribes sought how they might kill him, for they feared the people. Then entered Satan into Yehudis, surnamed Iscariot, being of the number of the 12.
So now the adversary, the devil, has found this willing vessel. Yahshua already know who the willing vessel is. He's open for the adversary, the devil, to enter him and to do these works, to use his body to do these works. See, you have to consider how it is you might carry yourself that leaves you open for the adversary to use you when it's convenient for him. Yahshua already said one of y'all gonna betray me. He already know who it is. But because the job has to be done, he not getting rid of the betrayer, because then what's gonna happen? Then they'll find another one. No. Somebody got to do this job. And even he did not understand that it was him. And now here come the adversary, the devil, using his body to perform these works. Go ahead.
And he went his way and communed with the chief priests and captains, how he might betray him unto them. And they were glad and covenanted to give him money.
Man, we was looking for somebody to betray him. We're so glad you came. Man, we didn't know how we were going to do this thing, man. Thank you for coming. And he's going to get the money we're going to give you right here. Go ahead.
And he promised and sought opportunity to betray him unto them in the absence of the multitude.
So we're going to find a nice way that when people are not around. See, a lot of those things are happen by perception. See, people are one way when people looking. They're another way when they don't think anybody is looking. So they need to do this demonic deed when the multitude of the people are not there, because the people, if the people like him, then now you got a problem. But let's do it in the absence of the people. Go ahead. We're going to jump to verse 47.
Luke chapter 22 and verse 47. And while he yet spake, behold, a multitude, and he that was called Yehudis, one of the 12, went before them, and drew near unto Yahshua to kiss him. But Yahshua said unto him, Yehudis, betrayeth you the Son of Man with a kiss? When they which were about him saw what would follow, they said unto him, Adonai, shall we smite with the sword? And one of them smote the servant of the high priest and cut off his right ear. And Yahshua answered and said, Suffer you thus far. And he touched his ear, and he healed him.
Understand something. These disciples was not a bunch of people studying at some kind of seminary school. These were fishermen, sets of brothers. These was, it ain't no easy thing to be on ships. Them were some pretty rough brothers that he got following him. So, the brother whipped out that sword pretty quick. And he's pretty good with it. Go ahead.
Verse 52. Then Yahshua said unto the chief priests and captains of the temple and the elders which were come to him, do you come out as against a thief with swords and staves? When I was daily with you in the temple, you stretched forth no hands against me, but this is your hour and the power of darkness.
This is your hour and the power of darkness. So now the adversary has entered into Yehudis, and he is going about to accomplish this job. Let's go to Matthew chapter 27. Matthew chapter 27. And we're going to read verses 1 through 10.
When the morning was come, all the chief priests and elders of the people took counsel against Yahshua to put him to death. And when they had bound him, they led him away and delivered him to Pontius Pilate the governor. Then Yehudis, which had betrayed him, when he saw that he was condemned, repented himself and brought again the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders.
Right. So we have to understand what ended up taking place. And when he had bound him, they led him away and delivered him unto Pontius Pilate, the governor. Then Yehudis. Now, everything is done. He has done his part. He has betrayed him. He is in custody. When he saw he was condemned, now he repented. In another place it says, and he came to himself. Right. So the demon left him, and now he understands what he has done. So the demon has completely used his body to go make a deal, to even set up how he's going to betray him. He go ahead and he betrays him, and the whole time this demonic spirit is controlling his body. Now, when the demon is done, and this is what demons do constantly, once they're done, they leave you holding the bag. Now you're sitting up there looking at, now he understands. I've condemned myself. You mean tell me you didn't understand you were condemning yourself when you made an agreement like a hitman? You didn't understand then? No, you don't understand until the deed is done. Go ahead.
Verse 4, saying, I have sinned in that I have betrayed the innocent blood. And they said, what is that to us? See you to that.
Right. There ain't no honor among murderers. They say, ain't no backing out of it now. Now he sees I have sinned and that I have betrayed innocent blood. He ain't even dead yet. His part, though, is done. See? Once the adversary convinces you to do whatever that is he needs you to do, he going to leave you standing there holding the bag. Go ahead.
And he cast down the pieces of silver in the temple and departed and went and hanged himself.
Right. See, now this is him not being able to deal with the things that has been done in his body, things that he has allowed the adversary, the devil, to use his body to do. How you go from one extreme to the next, where you setting up all of these things, now all of a sudden you thinking about all the evil that is done. But you're not thinking about it until afterwards. Now it's bothering you so much that you give the money back. Wait a minute, this was your whole thing was to get the money. Now you give the money back? Then you go hang yourself? See, a lot of people talk big and bad until the deed is done. And then it's time to deal with those actions. How many times we've seen people on TV and they were thugged out. They were thugged out till it was time to go to jail. And boy, they put on them pink socks, boy, and they went to cry. Wait a minute now. Wait a minute. You was thugged out gangster. Till they start issuing out this time. Now, boy, they crying. Go ahead.
And the chief priest took the silver pieces and said, it is not lawful for it to put them into the treasury, because it is the price of blood. And they took counsel and bought with them the potter's field to bury strangers in. Wherefore that field was called the field of blood unto this day. Then was fulfilled that which was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet, saying, And they took the 30 pieces of silver, the price of him that was valued, whom they of the children of Israel did value, and gave them for the potter's field, as the Adonai appointed.
So, understand verse 9. Then was fulfilled that which was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet, saying, And they took the 30 pieces of silver, the price of him that was valued. So, the brother has no idea that he's actually fulfilling prophecy. When he allowed the adversary, the devil, to use him, he's thinking that that's him that's coming up with those things. See, the adversary, the devil, know the word better than any of us. So he already know what the price is. He know the deed that has to be done. He just got to find somebody who does not have their spirit guarded, who he can use. He already know what he going to do. No, he's just looking out saying, who am I going to use to do it? Who don't have a gate around their spirit? He know what he got to do. He just don't know what person he's going to be able to use to do it. Interesting. Let's go to Acts chapter 19. See, none of this is surprising to the adversary. As soon as Yahshua got baptized, he's first one now. Hey, look here. Let me talk to you. You look like you're hungry. Look, I bet you won't turn that bread, that stone into bread right there. If you bow down and worship me, all shall be yours. Now, he didn't mess with the physical man the 30 years before that, because that wasn't the spirit of Yahshua. The spirit of Yahshua is what descended on that body after that baptism. That's who he wanted to mess with. He didn't care nothing about the physical body of the man. He had 29 and 3/4 years to go at him. He was like, I ain't studying him. That's not Yahshua. That's just the body. He wanted that spirit that descended in the bodily shape of a dove and rested on that body after baptism. That's what he wanted to corrupt. And that's why he didn't start that job until then. Anything else would have just been practice. I don't want the physical, I don't want the flesh. The spirit is what he wanted. So what are you going to waste time dealing with that for? And people always tell you they got all these different parts. They got baby Jesus, they got teenage Jesus, they got middle-aged Jesus. They got all these things. Not understanding. When that baptism happened, that's when the party got started. All that other stuff, he was just waiting. As it is written, it says, and he was as 30 years old as it was supposed. Because as according to what's written in this book, you have to be 30 years old to begin the work of a priest. Yahshua knew what he was waiting for. Yahweh knew what he was waiting for. And the adversary devil knew what he was waiting for. Acts chapter 19. We're going to do 1 through 16.
And it came to pass that while Apollos was at Corinth, Saul, having passed through the upper coast, came to Ephesus. And finding certain disciples, he said unto them, Have you received the Holy Spirit since you believed?
Mm-hmm.
And they said unto him, We have not so much as heard whether there be any Holy Spirit.
Right. And if we pay attention to what we see on Sunday morning, we'll believe that the Holy Spirit make you jump over chairs and scream all kind of goo gobbly-goo and dance all over the floor. Matter of fact, the Holy Ghost got some kind of soundtrack, because he don't seem to show up until they play that music. And who picked the official Holy Ghost music? Who picked that? Go ahead.
And he said unto them, Unto what then were you baptized? And they said, Unto Johann's baptism.
So you see the first question then, if you have not even heard of the Holy Spirit, what is the first question? First question is about your baptism. If you have not gotten the Holy Spirit, the first question is your baptism. So this is why the adversary said, let's put that name Jesus in there. See, that's going to mess up all their baptism right there. Because according to what's written, there's only one name under heaven by which we must be saved. The J didn't come along until 1630. That's 1630 years that his name couldn't possibly have been Jesus. First King James Bible say Jesus. See, we got a problem now. We got a real problem now. Go ahead.
Verse 4. Then said Saul, Johanan verily baptized with the baptism of repentance, saying unto the people that they should believe on him which should come after him, that is, on the Mashiach Yahshua.
Right.
When they heard this, they were baptized in the name of the Adonai Yahshua.
So when they heard this, they got their baptism done over. They said, hey, well, my baptism just had remission of sins. This baptism has remission of sins and the gift of the Holy Spirit. So I have to get this done again. Go ahead.
And when Saul had laid his hands upon them, the Holy Spirit came on them, and they spake with tongues and prophesied.
Right. So now you see an equation. Baptism in the correct name, then laying on of hands. Go ahead.
And all the men were about 12. And when he went into the synagogue and spake boldly for the space of 3 months, disputing and persuading the things concerning the kingdom of Elohim, but when divers were hardened, and believed not, but spake evil of that way before the multitude, he departed from them, and separated the disciples, disputing daily in the school of one Tyrannus. And this continued by the space of 2 years, so that all they which dwelt in Asia heard the word of the Adonai Yahshua, both Yehudis and Greeks. And Elohim wrought special miracles by the hands of Saul, so that from his body were brought onto the sick handkerchiefs or aprons, and the diseases departed from them, and the evil spirits went out of them.
Right. This is the stuff you see people trying to act out on Sunday morning. They put it on TV, they make $1 gajillion. They touch people, they pass out. They so-called heal people. You know, Yahshua and all those people, you know, when they heal people, they didn't just go to church. You know, they were just walking about going to heal people. See, that's the part that people don't deal with. You know, they interviewed like Benny Hinn and those people, and they say, you know, why you don't take your gift of healing down to the hospital? Right. Right. You know, because that's where the sick people at. That's why Yahshua what? He said the well don't need a physician. I need to go where the sick people at. They said, man, why you sitting with them people? Them people sinners. Yeah, I know. I'm coming to heal them. I know these people sick. This was sick people. I'm coming to heal the sick people. But yet, the healing prophets of television never go to the hospital. I find that utterly amazing. Go ahead.
Verse 13. Then certain of the vagabond Yehudis, exorcists, took upon them to call over them which had evil spirits the name of the Adonai Yahshua, saying, we adjure you by Yahshua whom Saul preaches.
Right. So then you have to understand, even in doing this, they jealous of the gift. Okay? So now they said, look, we're going to do the same thing because we seen it. So we adjure you by Yahshua whom Paul preached. They don't even preach it, but they want the power though. See? And this how we gonna be, and I understand them. It said vagabond Yehudi. So these wasn't no strange people. These was our people. See, this us right here. We gonna steal the gift and we gonna go do our own thing with it. See, that's us. See, don't see somebody else when you read that. See somebody who looks just like you. Go ahead.
And there were 7 sons of one Sceva, a Yehudi, and chief of the priests, which did so. And the evil spirit answered and said, Yahshua I know, and Saul I know, but who are you?
In other words, what power do you have? Yahshua, I know him. Saul, I know him. Who are you? So, the demonic spirits know who has power and who does not. Remember, Yahshua was saying, keep your mouth closed. Just come out of him. The evil spirit said, I know you. Stop talking. Shut up. Just come out. They don't even know who I am at this point. So who we saw was the man, Yahshua. The demon said, that's the son of Elohim. That's Israel dwelling in that body. See? The demon saw exactly what that was. That's why he had to keep telling them, hold your peace and come out of them. That's why they said, look, what are you doing here? Have you come to torment us before the time? Hush, just come out. See, he don't want them to know who he was yet. Because that's how you see who's really real and what their intentions are. Sometimes you hide your power. See, there's sometimes that there are rich people who don't want people to know they're rich because everybody love you when they think you got some money. Oh my goodness, everybody your friend. But when they think you broke, let's see how friendly they're going to be. Let's see how helpful they're going to be when they don't think you got nothing. See, there's a guy that got a little skit on I saw it on Facebook where he goes and tries to talk to the woman and the woman won't talk to him. And he's standing off from a Lamborghini, right? But he's away from the Lamborghini, right? So he tried to talk to her and she like, right, please. Then he go over there and get in that Lamborghini. They be like, oh, hold on. That's your, oh my goodness, oh, that's your car, oh my goodness. Oh, I didn't know, oh my goodness. So he opened the door, let her sit in. She started talking. Then he go out the back and grab a gold shovel and give it to her. Here you go, since you're a gold digger. I got this. Right. It's amazing how absolutely handsome you get when you have a Lamborghini. It is absolutely amazing. Right. Go ahead, Ram.
Verse 16. And the man in whom the evil spirit was leapt on them, and overcame them, and prevailed against them, so that they fled out of that house naked and wounded.
So, why do we have to understand this? Because you need to understand that a demonic spirit will leave and go from body to body. So then you're not looking at the physical part of the person. What you're looking at is attributes. You may see one person do something, and then you look up across the room, and you see somebody else doing the same thing. That demon just went from over there, jumped out of that person, and went over there and got in that person. So you'll notice something. People will come and go, but them spirits will use whatever open entity they can find. And when you start seeing the same things, you know, oh, that's that same spirit right there. It may come 1 minute, it may be in a woman. Next minute, it may be in a man. Don't matter to the demonic spirit. It's going to use whatever it is allowed to go into. That's why you have to pay attention, because as we get down to fighting this spiritual warfare, you're going to have to learn to notice spirits and not people. You listen to the words that proceed out of their mouth, and then you know, wait a minute, this is that same spirit. I can hear that same spirit. I hear it. In the garden, when it was said, you know, this tree is good for food, and we shall not surely die. Automatically, that man should have said, who you been talking to? I know I told you we ain't supposed to eat from that guy. I know Elohim told me, I told you. Who told you that this was good for food? You been talking to somebody. Because I didn't tell you that. So where that come from? Right. See, another spirit was introduced. And that other spirit that was introduced, not being dealt with, then led to the destruction of the entire family. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 14. Jeremiah chapter 14, and let's read verses 10 through 16.
Thus saith Yahweh unto his people, thus have they loved to wander. They have not refrained their feet. Therefore Yahweh does not accept them.
They haven't refrained their feet. 1 minute, they're Hebrew. Next minute, they go to church on Sunday. 1 minute they keep Passover, next minute they keep Easter. 1 minute they go to this church, next minute they go to church down the street. Then they go down to church around the corner. And they're picking up all kinds of strange doctrine and come back and drop it at your doorstep. Go ahead.
He will now remember their lawlessness and visit their sins. Then said Yahweh unto me, pray not for this people, for their good.
Right. Because see, that demon will try to trick you into praying for them to authorize their evil deeds. See? So every time people think, oh, this is a nice thing to do. Yeah, my elder told me, hey, you better learn to keep your prayers to yourself. At least you authorize some mess. That's what my elder used to say. How you going to have a congregation with 10,000 people? You can't possibly know what all them people got going on. How you going to pray for all those people? You going to offer some kind of general prayer? You don't know what they're dealing with? Then you don't put a stamp of approval on some mess? Go ahead.
When they fast, I will not hear their cry.
Right. Don't pray for them, because I ain't going to hear you. When they fast, I'm not going to hear them. Go ahead.
And when they offer burnt offering and an oblation, I will not accept them. But I will consume them by the sword, and by the famine, and by the pestilence.
Mm-hmm.
Then said I, Adonai Yahweh, behold, the prophets say unto them, you shall not see the sword, neither shall you have famine, but I will give you assured peace in this place.
Right. That's what you turn on the television and they say, God not angry with you. Don't be listening to those pastors who telling you all of these things. God is full of love. We reside in the daughter of Babylon, and everything wicked that can happen is happening. Why would the Most High be happy with this place? Go ahead.
Then Yahweh said unto me, the prophets prophesy lies in my name. I sent them not, neither have I commanded them, neither spake unto them. They prophesy unto you a false vision and divination, and a thing of naught, and the deceit of their heart. Therefore thus said Yahweh concerning the prophets that prophesy in my name, and I sent them not, yet they say, sword and famine shall not be in this land. By sword and by famine shall those prophets be consumed. And the people to whom they prophesy shall be cast out in the streets of Jerusalem because of the famine and the sword. And they shall have none to bury them, their wives, nor their sons, nor their daughters, for I will pour their wickedness upon them.
Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 14. See, we have to be prepared for this spiritual battle that we're going to find ourselves engaged in, because these demons, these demonic spirits will be able to jump from body to body. And if you're focusing on the physical person in front of you, that demon can be right there with you at the market, upset you. Then you arguing with one person. The demon then leave that person and go to somebody else. Now you and that person arguing. The demon has done his job. Y'all at it. Demon gone. He done went and gotten somebody else and then got them arguing. But if you're not dealing with the things of the spirit, that flesh that demon use will have you really thrown off. Ezekiel chapter 14, let's start that at verse 1.
Then came certain of the elders of Israel unto me, and sat before me. And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, these men have set up their idols in their heart, and put the stumbling block of their lawlessness before their face. Should I be inquired of at all by them?
Right. What gives you the right to speak Yahweh's name, or even talk about his covenant, with all this idol worship and all of these things that you have set up in your heart? See, we'll say, I don't have any idol. No. You don't have a physical one. Go ahead.
Therefore speak unto them, and say unto them, Thus said the Adonai Yah, Every man of the house of Israel that sets up his idols in his heart and puts the stumbling block of his lawlessness before his face and comes to the prophet, I, Yahweh, will answer him that comes according to the multitude of his idols.
Right. He says to the righteous, he shows himself righteous. To the forward, he shows himself forward. So the people who are forward in their actions go to Yahweh and they really believe that they get an answer, and he's going to let them be directed by their own forward heart. So they say, yeah, I'm finna go do some mess, and Yahweh told me to go do it. Right. He answered you in your own wickedness. Go ahead.
That I may take the house of Israel in their own heart, because they are all estranged from me through their idols. Therefore say unto the house of Israel, thus said the Adonai, repent and turn yourselves from your idols, and turn away your faces from all your abominations. For every one of the house of Israel, or of the stranger that sojourns in Israel, which separated himself from me, and sets up his idols in his heart, and puts the stumbling block of his lawlessness before his face, and comes to a prophet to inquire of him concerning me, I, Yahweh, will answer him by myself.
And you know, we have allowed people to glamorize speaking to Yahweh so much that we don't understand that this is a scary thought. Yahweh said, no, I'm going to answer him myself. There's people like, I talked to the Lord last night. So we like, yeah, it sound like a good thing. God will answer himself. Right. He started talking. Israel started running. Israel said, look, don't talk to us no more. Talk to that dude right there. Talk to him. And then let him talk to us. We don't ever want to hear your voice again. Do not talk to us. We think this sounds cool because we keep watching these people on TV saying that they talk to God. These people said, do not talk to me no more. They couldn't handle the voice of Elohim. You had to be in a certain place to be able to withstand the voice of Elohim. And we allow people to trivialize it. Like you're just walking down the street. God told me to go such and such. Why he want to tell you that for he got a book? Why he need to talk to you? To tell you the same thing he put in there. Well, he should have told you, my son, read my book. That way he should have told you. But he came with a special message just for you. Right. Right. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 8. And I'll set my face against that man. I will make him a sign and a proverb. And I'll cut him off from the midst of my people. And you shall know that I am Yahweh. And if the prophet be deceived when he has spoken a thing, I, Yahweh, have deceived that prophet.
Right. See, when my teacher used to say, be careful, Yahweh will deceive you. All the time believing that Yahweh has given them the okay to do something. What he's giving you is the answer from the desire of your own heart. See? Yahweh already show you this is something we should not deal with. So, well, you know what? I like these idols. You know what? Go ahead then. There you go. Go ahead. Go ahead. There you go. Go ahead and get your idols. You go right ahead. Then you got people talking about, see, Yahweh told me to do it. You might want to listen to that a little bit carefully. Israel asked for a king. He said, what you need a king for? I'm your king. No, but we'll have a king. We're going to get your king then. Go ahead. Go and get your king. A king coming up. Worst king we had ever seen. Go ahead. That's what you wanted, right? You knew it was wrong. You still wanted it anyway. Then he gave it to you from the desires of your own heart and allowed it to destroy you. They asked for flesh. Oh, you want flesh? You really want, I want some flesh. We tired of this light bread. You know what? Go ahead then. Get your flesh. Now go ahead and kill them. Yeah, while they still eating. Let them chew it and I want them falling out of their mouth. Go ahead and kill them. But give them what they asked for. Right. See? The power that Israel has with Yahweh, that same power that make you laugh, is the same power that make you cry. Let's go to Matthew chapter 25. So you have to be careful how you use power. And everybody not ready for it. That's why people have to sit down and learn something. At least you get some power and end up being reckless with it. That's what happened when a child found a gun. They didn't learn what to do with that. Matthew chapter 25 and verses 1 through 13.
Verse 1. Then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins, which took their lamps, and went forth to meet the bridegroom.
Now, 10 virgins sounds absolutely wonderful. These are righteous women. They virgins, good, clean, and wholesome. Keep reading.
And 5 of them were wise, and 5 were foolish.
Right. So you have 5 wise and 5 foolish. So now that line is being drawn even between virgins. Go ahead.
They that were foolish took their lamps, and took no oil with them. But the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps.
Oil is a symbol of the Spirit. So these wise virgins had enough Spirit with them to light their path when the night became dark. So when it became a darkness in their life, they had enough Spirit to get them through. Well, how you earn the oil? See, this is what you do your works for. So that when that darkness comes, you ain't trying to run and go get no oil. You ain't trying to run and go get no Spirit. You already got some Spirit stacked up. Go ahead.
While the bridegroom tarried, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight there was a cry made, Behold, the bridegroom comes. Go you out to meet him. Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said unto the wise, Give us of your oil, for our lamps are gone out. But the wise answered, saying, Not so, lest there be not enough for us and you. But go you rather to them that sell, and buy for yourselves.
Right. So if this oil is a symbol of the Spirit, these foolish virgins then ask, can we borrow of your Spirit? There's a whole lot of things you let people borrow, but Spirit ain't want to. I can't let you borrow my Spirit. So that's something you're going to have to prepare for yourself. Go ahead.
And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and they that were ready went in with him to the marriage, and the door was shut.
Right. So then this was a purposely led thing for him to wait to the darkest of night so he can see who's prepared. Go ahead.
Afterward came also the other virgins, saying, Adonai, Adonai, open to us. But he answered and said, Verily I say unto you, I know you not.
I know you not. Wait a minute, but these are virgins though. I know you not. If you haven't any oil, if you haven't done any labor to get any Spirit, why would he know you? Where would I know you from? How I know you? Go ahead.
You know, brother, back in verse 10, it says, they that were ready went in into the marriage. And that's what we have every Shabbat, every Bible study, every conversation we're talking. We're getting ready for that marriage. Those that are ready will go in.
Putting a little bit more oil in that lamp. Putting a little bit more oil in that lamp. You had to ask yourself, what kind of person carry a lamp around and ain't got no damn oil in it to light no fire? Oh, you got a lamp empty anyway. What kind of perpetrating you doing? Who you know walk around in the midnight with a flashlight with no batteries? Man, what you gonna do with that? I mean, it's a stick. Maybe you can hit a dog with it. I mean, but you ain't gonna get no light out of that. You got no batteries. What are you carrying a lamp for? So you can look like the other virgins. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 13. Watch therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour when the Son of Man comes. For the kingdom of heaven is as a man traveling into a far country, who called his own servants and delivered unto them his goods.
Jump to verse 24.
Then he which had received the one...
I'm sorry, brother. Go to Matthew chapter 13.
Okay.
Matthew 13 and verse 24.
Verse 24. Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way.
The enemy came and planted these tares, these weeds among the wheat. Go ahead.
But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, did not you sow good seed in your field? From whence then has it tares? He said unto them, An enemy has done this. The servant said unto him, Will you then that we go and gather them up? But he said, No, least while you gather up the tares, you root up also the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of harvest, I will say to the reapers, Gather you together first the tares.
The tares are gathered first. Go ahead.
And bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my garner.
See, the tares try to take up the resources of the wheat. See, the weed and the fruit are fighting each other for resources. The tares are going to try to choke out the wheat. But the end result is that the wheat becomes stronger from the fighting, from the spiritual warfare that they end up encountering from the tares. So the tares have a necessary job. Even though they don't understand what their job is, they have a necessary job. Jump to verse 36.
Then Yahshua sent the multitude away and went into the house. And his disciples came unto him, saying, Declare unto us the parable of the tares of the field. He answered and said unto them, He that sows the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one.
The tares are the children of the wicked one. So the adversary, as we have read in Bible study, the adversary has sanctuaries. He got his own people. Then he even sends people. The adversary sends people to church. It says he planted those people. Go ahead.
The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. As therefore the tares are gathered and burnt in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all the things that offend, and them which do lawlessness, and shall cast them into a furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth.
When you don't understand what iniquity is, verse 41, I mean, you go right by it. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity, or them which do lawlessness. They say the law is nailed to the cross, so they don't have to be subject to it. Go ahead.
Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Who has ears to hear, let him hear.
All right, let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 11. First Corinthians chapter 11, and let's read verses 17 through 22.
Verse 17. Now in this that I declare unto you, I praise you not, that you come together not for the better, but for the worse. For first of all, when you come together in the church, I hear that there be divisions among you, and I partly believe it. For there must be also heresies among you.
There must be heresies among you. Why?
That they which are approved may be made manifest among you.
Right. So people don't understand what it is that they're displaying when they bring forth the heresies. See, Yahweh is like, hey, so why does Yahweh need to come and talk to you about everything? No. I'm going to let certain things happen so you can understand who is coming with what spirit. Go ahead.
When you come together, therefore, into one place, This is not to eat the Adonai's supper, for in eating everyone takes before other his own supper, and one is hungry and another is drunken.
Right. Here it is. Yeshua turned, first miracle, turn water into wine. But that ain't for everybody to go and get publicly toasted. So here it is. They come together. Some coming together just to eat. Others coming together just to get drunk. Go ahead, bro.
What? Have you not houses to eat and to drink in? Or despise you the church of Elohim, and shame them that have not?
It's not different than what Yeshua said. He said, the multitudes have come, but some people came because the others did eat bread. They came for the meal. Then there's other people that came for the spiritual meal. Go ahead.
What shall I say to you? Shall I praise you in this? I praise you not.
All right, let's go to Acts chapter 20. Acts chapter 20, and we're going to read verses 28 through 35.
Verse 28. Take heed therefore unto yourselves and to all the flock over the which the Holy Spirit has made you overseers, to feed the church of Elohim, which he has purchased with his own blood.
To feed the church of Elohim, there's some work that has to be done. To feed the church of Elohim, everything that proceeds out of your mouth is not going to be a bunch of niceties telling the people how much God wants you to be rich. To feed the church of Elohim, there's some uncomfortable things that's going to have to be said. Go ahead.
For I know this, that after my departing shall grievous wolves enter in among you, not sparing the flock. Also of your own selves shall men arise, speaking perverse things, to draw away disciples after them.
Right. A question here or a statement there. Pull people out the side in the parking lot. Try to teach them on sly. Drawing disciples away after them. Go ahead.
Therefore watch, and remember that by the space of 3 years I cease not to warn everyone night and day with tears. And now, brethren, I commend you to Elohim, and to the word of his grace, which is able to build you up, and to give you an inheritance among all them which are sanctified. I have coveted no man's silver, or gold, or apparel. Yes, you yourselves know that these hands have ministered unto my necessities, and to them that were with me.
You yourselves know that these hands have ministered unto my necessities, and to them that were with me. So he says, I have coveted no man's silver or gold or apparel. I work with mine own hands. I did not make merchandise of any of you. Go ahead.
I have showed you all things, how that so laboring you ought to support the weak, and to remember the words of the Adonai Yeshua, how he said, it is more blessed to give than to receive.
Now, you see how that has been taken and flipped around and used to merchandise the people? He first says, I've coveted no man's silver or gold. Mine own hands have labored to support me. But then when you get down to the bottom, it is more blessed to give than to receive. This is the very thing people use to make merchandise out of other people. Let's go to 2 Thessalonians and let us hear the conclusion of this matter. 2 Thessalonians chapter 3. Second Thessalonians chapter 3 and verses 6 through 15.
Now we command you, brethren, in the name of our Adonai Yahshua the Mashiach, that you withdraw yourselves from every brother that walks disorderly, and not after the tradition which he received of us. For yourselves know how you ought to follow us, for we behave not ourselves disorderly among you.
Right. So there's an order that was set for yourselves know how you ought to follow us, for we behave not ourselves disorderly among you. So if other people don't walk according to the doctrine that we have delivered, then you need to know to separate from those individuals. So the adversary of the devil say, well then what he's going to do is teach so many twisted doctrines that the people can't figure out how they're supposed to walk or behave themselves. See, there's one thing, you have to look at the different pushes that have happened from, through periods of time. At one point, they try to keep all of the word from Israel, not wanting to allow the book to be translated, to do all of those things. So then it's a holding back from the word. I mean, the popes went to the point of having people burned alive for trying to translate this book. Then once the book gets translated, then the adversary changed his focus. Let's put out so many doctrines that you overwhelm the people, that if they pull up in his 15 different paths, they'll just won't take any path. Well, I'm so confused. I just won't do anything. That's exactly what the adversary wants. He first tried to withhold all information, but then once the information get out, now he gonna let so much information come forward that you get flooded with information, and not wanting to study to show ourselves approved, not being able to refrain our feet to sit long enough to have some understanding, then we jump from place to place, from thought process to thought process, and we getting a piece of this, a piece of that, and the adversary of the devil just keeps sprinkling little things. Because the best way to hide a lie is in between two pieces of truth. So you hear one thing, you say, man, that sounds good. That's true, that's true. Then you hear something else, man, that sounds good. That's true, that's true. Then he comes in sprinkling that little lie right there in the middle. And then you say, well, that must be true because the first part was true. The back part was true. The middle must be true too. That's what I lied right there. That's your lie sandwich right there. He put that lie right there in the middle. And you thinking because the first, beginning and the last was true, this other part must be true. No, that's what I lied. And the thing is, just like dealing with kids, there's certain points or certain places of growth you need to have before dealing with deceptive people. Like one of the reasons why I'm a fan of homeschooling, because I went to several schools when I was younger, and I've encountered teachers who didn't particularly like me or dealt with me in a certain way. But when you're dealing with a grown person with multiple degrees, a kid cannot truly articulate the methods that's being used against them. You can feel it, but you can't explain it. And knowing that there are teachers out there that, first of all, don't really want to be teaching in your neighborhood. See, back in the days, everybody that taught in our neighborhood looked just like us. Oh, it might have been some old book, but them people cared about you. Them same people then taught your cousin, your uncle, your mama. When you have people that been teaching that long, they are connected to that neighborhood. They teach a certain way. Then you have some people that come in the neighborhood, they just got assigned to that place. And they don't like you. And they don't like your kids. And then they teaching your kids like they don't like them. They talk to them in their own kind of way. Then your kids try to tell you, Miss Johnson hate me. Then you go talk to Miss Johnson, you're like, oh no, she's just a beautiful angel. You like, look girl, you tripping. No, Miss Johnson good. Miss Johnson know when to turn on the hate. See, being in school and having that happen to me, I already know what that is. See, if you can catch that little kid at a certain age and give them low self-esteem about who they are, they're going to take that low self-esteem. I don't care if they go to 4 colleges. That low self-esteem still sitting there in the back of their head. That some teacher planted there. But if you don't know no better, you think your little girl keep coming home tripping. You think your little girl tripping. Where you getting this from? I talked to that lady. Yeah, she knew how to talk to you. I had a manager tell me, he laughed when he told me, you know, I'm going to add up my pay at the end of the year, and I'm going to add up yours. And you know, if you make more money than me, we're going to have some problems. Then he laughed. See, that's how people think it's a joke. No, he wasn't joking. Later on, I found out, oh, damn, that was real. I found out I did make more money than he did, and I was going through hell for it. But he said it like it was a joke. That them psychology classes there. I said, now look at here. But that same thing is there in our biblical education as well. There's a certain level we need to be at before we go to listening to everybody and everything, or you start in your infancy learning the wrong way and the wrong things the wrong way. And you know how hard it is to back up once you've got a erroneous education on some things? It's like we learn how to play ball in the street. Then you get to school and you join a team, and the coach said, son, that's not how you hold a ball. Man, I'm the star of this team, man. What you talking about? I make 15 points a game, bro. What are you telling me? I'm telling you holding the ball wrong. Now you fighting the coach. Because your little twisted way has worked for you thus far. But guess what? You're going to get far enough down that road, and your twisted way not going to work for you no more. And you're going to find people who were coached really well. And no matter how hard you play, you're not going to be able to get those people. Your natural ability is only going to take you so far. And that's what limits us. We're able to do something with our own natural ability, so we will not allow ourselves to be coached right. And once you start going to some of these other places and you see people who have been coached and taught, and then you mix that with natural ability, now you see some real people who are able to do some things. And that's what Yahweh wants to happen. We have various gifts. But the question is, are you going to allow Yahweh to refine those gifts so that they can be used for the kingdom? And if you let him do it, he'll let you use it for you. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 8. 2 Thessalonians chapter 3 and verse 8. Neither did we eat any man's bread for naught, but wrought with labor and travail night and day, that we might not be chargeable to any of you.
Right. But see, our people don't want to read this. We say our pastors deserve to have a $60 million jet. They deserve that. They need that. They don't need to be riding around in that old $10 million jet. That's a hoopty. That's a jet hoopty. Need a brand new $60 million one. And we like to be ruled over like that. Correct?
Not because we have not power, but to make ourselves an ensample unto you to follow us.
Not because we have not power. I could have asked for some money and the people would have given it. But so that you understand that I'm not trying to rule over you, I'm going to keep working with my own hands. That which you give out of your own heart. You understand what bills need to be paid. You understand what we got to do. The lights don't pay for themselves. But so you understand that ain't nobody trying to rule over you. He said, I'm going to keep working with my own hands. Go ahead.
For even when we were with you, this we commanded you, that if any would not work, neither should he eat. For we hear that there are some which walk among you disorderly, working not at all, but are busybodies.
And you talking about busybodies, we don't even understand that is how that is even looked at in Yahweh's eyes. See, we think, well, I mean, I ain't murdered nobody. You know, I ain't stealing nothing. I mean, I just been a little busy about it. You know, I was just in my my neighbor's windows. There's a lot of stuff going on in there. Right. Go ahead.
Now them that are such, we command and exhort by our Adonai Yahshua the Mashiach, that with quietness they work and eat their own bread. But you, brethren, be not weary in well-doing.
Mm-hmm.
And if any man obey not our word by this epistle, note that man and have no company with him, that he may be ashamed.
Right. This is how you reprove people of their doings. See, when somebody acts or goes outside of the things that they were taught, when you continue to hang with them, you are justifying those deeds. See? So it says step away, but then look at how it says step away. Go ahead.
Yet count him not as an enemy, but admonish him as a brother.
You admonish him as a brother. That means you can't keep agreeing with their doings if those doings don't go according to the doctrine that has been given to us. You can't sit there and act like those things are okay. Otherwise, you're justifying their deeds. And we are only as righteous as the wickedness that we end up justifying. I want to read one more thing to you in 1 Peter chapter 4. And this is a quick one, but when you read this first one about being busybodies, you don't really understand where that sits. So you have to look at what then is said about it. 1 Peter chapter 4 and read verse 14.
If you be reproached for the name of the Adonai, happy are you, for the spirit of glory and of Elohim resteth upon you. On their part he is evil spoken of, but on your part he is glorified.
Go to verse 15.
But let none of you suffer as a murderer, or as a thief, or as an evildoer, or as a busybody in other men's matters.
So you mean to tell me you put busybody on the same level with murderers and thieves? See? But see, we don't consider that evil. While we jumping into things that ain't got nothing to do with us. This is why you have to read the book and understand the doctrine. When you go through the things that Yahshua has put out, you have people where it says, you know, you shall not murder. But then Yahshua said, he that is angry with his brother without a cause have murdered him already. So you have some people that's walking around saying, I ain't murdered nobody. But they mad at somebody and can't tell nobody why. Well, why you mad? I just don't like that brother. Why? I don't know, I just don't like him. Right, you murdered him. What you mean I murdered him? You're angry with him, but you can't tell nobody why. There's something seriously wrong with that. But if you don't read the words of Yahshua, you don't understand that. You don't understand there's something wrong with that thought process. To have something against somebody that you can't pinpoint anything that they've done against you. So then when we look at these things, talking about being a busybody in other men's matters, we don't even consider that as evil. And believe me, that demonic spirit would love to use a busybody in somebody else's matters. This is one of his easiest ways to use other people. This is the easiest way to get off into something. And all the while, feel like you haven't done anything wrong. Do understand that the adversary is very good at deception, at making us or allowing us to believe that we have not done anything until the entire deed is over. Remember, Judas didn't come to himself until after the entire deed was done. Then he understood all these things. And this deception that he had been engaged in took quite some time. So you have to ask yourself, you mean to tell me that people walking around with demons for months and years, allowing the demon to direct their doing, allowing the demon to leave them to be busybodies and go here and do that and set up this, and the whole time the demon is directing everything until the day is done, and then the demon leave you holding the bag. Consider that, because we're getting to a time where there's going to be an increased demonic presence on the earth as these evil angels get ejected more and more out of heaven. They're looking for bodies that they can inhabit and people that they can use to do their evil deeds. As you start looking at TV and see, you know, somebody kill somebody and then they try to eat their face. And you're looking like, man, what's wrong with these people? Right. These demons got to find somewhere to go. And you need to make sure your spiritual door is closed, lest they come and set up shop in your house. That's all that we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.